But the difference is that basically the whole thing of the USPS, the reason why the USPS loses money compared to UPS and FedEx is because the USPS has to, by law, do things that UPS and FedEx as private companies don't have to
Understood.
do.
But if you...
So the reason they lose money is because they do money-losing things by law. If the USPS basically went totally private, like some people are suggesting, like Trump basically says, we're not going to fund you, we're just going to make you totally private. Well, guess what? USPS is going to stop doing the things that lose money. And then all the people who don't live in a city are basically fucked. I mean, it's that simple.
Well, no, in a way, but I mean, if it's so the market is the market. I mean,
but the point is, we specifically have the USPS because we want to counteract market forces. That basically you shouldn't have to live in a city just to get the same.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree with that. But if you audit the USPS and you say, okay, how much money you're losing or not making because you're obligated to ship this package.
Well,
hold on, let me finish, please. So how much money you're losing or not making because you're obligated to ship this package to this rural area where nobody else wants to go for a decent price versus how much money you're losing or not making because everything else that you do is so inefficient.
But that's the thing. Parts of the USPS are actually very profitable. So they don't lose money across the board on everything. They make money in a lot of areas, but they lose a lot of money when they have to ship a package to some dude randomly in rural Kentucky. That costs a lot of money, and they lose money on that. And UPS and basically
if that's the case, then the government
charge $8 for something that UPS or FedEx would charge $50, basically. But they do it because they have to. So that's where they lose most of their money. Shipping to cities and all that, they make money, right? They make money. They're a business. They make money on all those things. They make money on letters. They lose money on letters that have to go, again, to the middle of nowhere. But they make money on a lot of parts of their business. But they lose money on the parts that we agree as a society that we should subsidize.
No, I understand. So your opinion is that whether it's Trump, Obama, or going back to Bush's, whatever, I mean, the USPS has been in the news for this particular topic over the last 15 years. You cannot
just get rid of the USPS.
Right, I agree. So
because if you do that, I mean, USPS truly is one of the major infrastructure that we have in the United States.
Okay.
So to just get rid of it is crazy.
So
now, if you want to come with private solutions, fine. But that needs to be done over a decade, not just all of a sudden you're done.
But it's been over a decade with this issue. So what is your solution is basically that any government, whether it's, I mean, I don't want to say Trump or whatever, or whoever comes next says, okay, we're going to subsidize you no matter what. So if you have, at the end of the year, you have a deficit of whatever number of millions
or
trillions.
Not no matter what. Obviously not.
Well, obviously,
but the USPS gets a bad rap. Because the USPS is profitable in the sections that make sense in the same way UPS is profitable in the sections that make sense. But UPS loses money on certain things too, right?
Exactly.
Every business does.
That's the thing.
But the difference is that the main reason the USPS loses money compared to FedEx or UPS is because they are by law required to do things that private companies are not required to do. That's the whole reason they lose money. If USPS went private tomorrow, they would be profitable. But they also because they would stop doing those things that lose money.
But if the government says, "Hey, you need to ship this package to this area that is in the middle of nowhere," I mean, if I want to get a phone line, and I'm living like off the grid, but I said I want to have a phone line, and I need to have whatever phone company put a line through the mountain to my little cabana or whatever, I live in the middle of nowhere or cabin or something, it's going to cost me a lot of money.
But it doesn't.
I know, but that's the thing.
Because it's subsidized.
Why? There's a difference between saying, hey, we have major metro areas where we are still the cheapest option and you can ship with us, very reliable and everything. And then we have off metro areas or rural areas where we're going to have a little surcharge. And guess what? If I live in the middle of nowhere...
But it's not a little surcharge. You say like adding $2 to the cost is the... Dude, I'm telling you, they do things that UPS would charge you $50 for, and they do it for $8. Okay. So a $40 surcharge, people can't afford that.
If instead of $8, you do it for $15, you're still much cheaper than your option, and you kind of decrease your losses. I mean, something needs to be done to solve the issue.
No, I mean, the answer is just being subsidized for those things. That's what we do.
Well, yeah, and I don't have a problem with that. I mean, we're printing trillions of dollars to subsidize a lot of issues right now.
The point is,
I don't see the problem in
I'm
subsidizing.
a very private market person, and I think that private companies should do a lot of things. But in the case of the USPS, it's a rare case where the amount that it costs relative to the good that it brings, I think, is not even close. The USPS doesn't lose that much money, right? They don't lose that much money. It basically costs taxpayers a few billion a year, which in a $4 trillion annual budget for all that the USPS does, I think is not that much.
I agree.
And I think
I don't want the USPS to disappear. I mean, it has to be some kind of.
Like I said, if it's going to disappear, you can't just get rid of it. You need to have a major plan in place to replace it. Because if you just say all of a sudden overnight, come October, November, if the USPS doesn't get the funding it needs, all right, bye-bye, no more USPS.
Well,
what replaces it?
I don't think that's going to happen. But I mean,
they don't get funding.
Tons of employees and people.
Yeah, that's the other thing. They have over 300,000 employees.
Right.
Okay,
So,
but that's my point. Like, it's not as simple as just saying, "Oh, we're going to cut the funding to that." Like, okay, that's nice to say, but the USPS, like I said, is one of the vital piece of federal infrastructure that
I understand.
have.
Do you know how other postal services in other countries work? I mean, if you go to European countries, I mean, they all have.
Yeah, it depends on the country, but most of them subsidize theirs too. Yeah, but they're socialists, so they don't care. But
No. You cannot just say they're socialist. I mean, there's tons of countries that are not socialist and they work.
No, but there's
lots of countries. I mean,
I don't know a specific.
Social
country.
democracy is not socialist. I mean, it's just.
My point is, different countries have different things, but yes, most of them have some type of government-backed mail system,
like we do
here.
It's just a matter of that.
The difference is that a lot of countries are much smaller than the United States. So the U.S., France's postal service does, I don't know, but they don't have as much cost as the U.S. does because the U.S. is way fucking bigger than France, basically. The point is the U.S. is a huge country, and on top of that, we have territories and shit, and we have to ship everywhere.
Yeah.
So to do that affordably costs a lot of money. I don't know.
All right. So what's the
point is,
what's the situation right now? I mean, what's the deadline?
The situation right now is that the USPS is losing money.
No, they've been losing money forever, but
and they're not getting funding. And it seems like Trump really does
Who
not.
Who approves the funding or denies the funding? Is it Congress?
Yeah. Mitch McConnell and Trump don't want to do it, basically.
Okay. And they're negotiating on the amount of funding, or they say zero?
Trump sounds like he just wants to cut it completely. Like he says, I don't want to give him funding.
Yeah, he says a lot of shit, but he's not going to get it done. I mean, it's just not going to happen. I mean, people need the USPS.
But USPS made adjustments. And but the other thing, too, is especially right now in COVID, one of the things is the USPS has so much overwhelming demand that they just couldn't even keep up with all the shipments because all of a sudden overnight they had triple the amount of
that's one
shipments
thing that I discovered that I was talking to you before the podcast, that during the last 2-3 months I've ordered a bunch of things, obviously like everybody else, and amazingly the things that came from USPS were the most unreliable ones that never arrived when they were supposed to arrive, versus all my packages from UPS or FedEx arrived. I can track them. It's out there for delivery. It's here. It's there. It's coming tomorrow, and it comes tomorrow. Whereas USPS, it says it's at this service station in California, awaiting next route, awaiting this. Supposed to arrive on Monday, never arrives on Monday. Calling the shipper.
I know. Everybody has
very
shipping
unreliable.
Issues, but my point is
tracking number means
they all of a sudden overnight had triple the
obviously
amount
the
of
logistics
packages to deliver.
Yes,
and it's not like you can just triple the USPS workforce overnight.
Well, how did FedEx and UPS handle it? Because
they had trouble too. Maybe you didn't experience it, but they had
those
trouble
guys
too.
when they had
and
trouble.
Guess what they did? They raised prices.
Yes, okay, and they also hire extra
UPS,
things, and in holiday seasons they hire U-Haul trucks to compensate and temporary workers, and you hear that all the time because they hire people as is needed.
You think USPS doesn't hire temporary workers?
I don't know. Obviously, they don't
do.
handle the delivery. I'm sure they hire temporary workers, but in a COVID situation where people cannot go shopping to the stores and they're shopping online, which we discussed.
Yeah, but we're in an extreme situation, keep in mind. Okay, so to all of a sudden
I'm
say,
okay with
for a company
subsidizing.
with 300,000 employees to now need to triple their workforce, that's 600,000 people.
I understand, but to me, I mean, my point is that if I'm the auditor of USPS and I
You
say,
think they're not audited?
no, I know,
course
but
they
if I'm the person, I say, okay, show me your balance sheet and tell me how much you're losing, which is what the government is subsidizing because you as a kind of pseudo government entity.
You can look it up. Their numbers are public.
Right.
It's not a
No,
secret.
I understand. So
they make money.
So if they're only losing money, my point is there. If they're only losing money because they are delivering and filling a void and nobody else is willing to fill, then fine. That's the balance. This
Right.
money I'm losing because I'm dropping this
Trust
package
me,
for
when
$3 when it should be
USPS
$30. Fine. But if they are losing on other inefficiencies, that's what they need to fix too.
when you ship to a city, right? If you're shipping from LA to San Francisco or whatever, they make money, right? USPS makes money on the things in the same way that UPS makes money. But keep in mind, first of all, the logistics business is a very cutthroat, thin margin business.
Well, like every business.
So even UPS and FedEx, it's not like they're making huge margins. These guys have like 10, 15%.
Well, I understand.
gross
It's very
margins.
competitive. Unless
So USPS has the same margins or maybe a little lower margins, but the difference is they have huge losses in these other areas that they don't have a choice but to do. And like I said, the other tricky thing is it's literally in the Constitution. And you might say, oh, it's outdated, whatever. Fine, maybe it is.
I mean,
but you have to make a constitutional amendment to change that.
I understand.
That's not an easy thing to do.
But it's sometimes when I hear something that starts with the founding fathers, I'm like, okay, that's fine. But those founding fathers could not predict that USPS was going to have UPS and FedEx and competitive and COVID. And I mean, we need to also understand that times change.
You also need to understand that to make a constitutional amendment,
genius with light bulbs
to make a constitutional amendment.
What? I understand.
It's not an easy thing.
No,
it doesn't just happen.
That's why there's so few,
Right.
But at some point you need to adjust to the times.
Oh,
All right.
Okay.